Defending champion Bill Balance returned to his winning ways with a convincing victory in round 3. But as the series heads to Cross Anchor, South Carolina, William Yoakley is still the man everyone's chasing. The Big Buck GNCC next. Cross Anchor, South Carolina, welcome to round number 4 of the GNCC ATV Racing Series presented by Suzuki. Dave Reef along with 5-time GNCC champ Scott Summers, ready to talk a little ATV racing today at a place they call Big Buck. What can we expect?
Well, this place is really a lot of rocks and a lot of roots, some rolling hills, and it's pretty technical. You know, these ATVs are pretty wide, and they have to fit through some pretty narrow spots, so they're going to have to be careful and be careful with the machinery.
Especially that new equipment that Bill Balance is riding.
Actually helped a whole lot with my confidence, you know, let me know that I can come out here with my new bike and win, and was able to get back and do some testing on the bike and get to ride it some, and before that last race I didn't have but 10 or 15 minutes on it, so I feel real confident being able to come out here and knowing I've got some more testing done, got the suspension changed where I want it, and ready to ride.
All of this after having his equipment stolen in Okeechobee, everything, but now he's getting back up to speed.
Yeah, I had to be frustrating for him to lose all of his equipment.
Another frustrated guy from Steel Creek had to be Brad Page, who had just about everything go wrong.
I had a terrible start, worst start I've ever had in my whole career racing. I actually crashed 3 times within a mile and a half. Me and Chad Duvall, for some reason, were like 2 magnets. We just got together like 3 different times and actually wrecked together. But I worked my way back up and got into 5th and actually picked up a little bit of time. The water pump seals went out on the last lap. Lost all my antifreeze. The engine started sounding like a diesel truck, so I just pulled over and seen all the antifreeze is gone, and I just took the back to the trailer.
Antifreeze, Scott, going to be crucial today. We've got a hilly course, but not too challenging.
Yeah, the thing tricky about this place is there can be some low-lying wet areas, and you know, in the quads, they have to be careful not to get high-centered as the tires dig it out, and then they can get stuck. So they have to be careful of wheel placement and line selection.
Typical GNCC race, you can expect a few creeks, like you just mentioned, lots of mud. Of course, a tree or two. It's about time to get started. The ATVs are on the starting line as you take a look at the names and numbers of the guys we're going to be following today. William Yoakley, the points leader. Guarantee that 4 will be up there. The Red Riders, the 6 and the 15, they're part of our pro production riders, Greg True and Brian Baker.
10 seconds, and you're off and running, guys. Get those kickstarters ready. Green flag.
The pro production class starts a minute behind this row. So on time correction, you know, the leaders physically need to be concerned.
Oh! Whoa! Ryan Halsey with a huge get-off.
Now, that's not the way you want to start a race.
And another one on the inside group there. About 4 ATVs getting stuck together. Almost another one again.
These machines are really wide in this pretty narrow area that they're forced to go through. It's like a funnel.
We're talking about the pro production class.
Yeah, they have to be concerned about the pro production riders because these pro class riders don't really know whether those guys are less than a minute behind them or not. To win the race, they have to be more than a minute in front of the guys in the next row.
Chances are Halsey's going to get a nice look at the pro production class, trying to shake the cobwebs out of his ears after that. Probably a little more vicious with the ATV flipping than probably what the rider went through, but here come the pro production guys.
This has been a point of controversy lately. You know, if that first row gets into a bottleneck, all of a sudden the pro production class is right up on them and gains that minute really quick. So at the end of the race, that makes a big difference.
Pro production class stretching things out. That's Chad Duvall with his first whole shot of the class this year. But Scott, how are people at home going to be able to tell the difference between a pro ATV and a pro production?
Well, it's not easy, but the unlimited class, the pro ATVs, they've got modified frames. The suspensions are a little bit different. They've got a little more longer shocks to work with. So it's really hard to see because they all have the same color number plate.
Field's beginning to stretch out. We'll help sort it out when we come back to Cross Anchor. Today's Big Buck ATV GNCC is being brought to you by Suzuki. maker of innovative motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles. Visit your Suzuki dealer and see the complete award-winning lineup today. Back at cross anchor where William Yoakley leads the pro class, no stranger to the front, he's back at it again.
Yeah, William's strong, and he really knows how to muscle that machine through these tight trees. You can tell by his stance that he's just kind of muscling the machine, you know, using his strength to make it do what he wants it to.
Really get an indication, too, of how wide these are compared to the motorcycles when they start going through these trees.
Yeah, and you know what else? Looking at the dirt bike with the Moto Cam, an ATV has twice as many tires, so they have to hit twice as many bumps.
The battle for second between Borich and Balance, and now the battle for fourth between Smiley and Page.
And Matt Smiley would really like to win this event again, and I'm sure he'd like to become a champion of the GNCC series, something that he hasn't been able to do thus far.
This will give you an idea about the hills here.
Yeah, it's hard to see on the camera, but there's some pretty steep hills, and it's kind of a dark reddish colored clay. The traction is pretty good, but still it's tricky. ATVs have got a lot of components that can potentially break. You know, they've got A-arms and spindles and axles and tie rod ends. They have to be careful they don't clip one of these trees with their front tires.
Here's a look at your top five. Yoakley, Borich, Bill Balance in third, Matt Smiley in fourth, Brad Page in fifth. Here's the third place ATV. Here comes fourth and fifth. The Gage will battle their own. ATV race a little shorter in length, too, than the bikes.
Yeah, you know, these guys have 2 hours to do battle, whereas the bikes have 3 hours. So that theoretically should allow them to have set a little faster pace just because they don't have to have that bank of energy to use in the third hour.
So do they ride all out?
I think they do. I think, you know, I've been out there walking the track on Saturdays when these guys are doing their thing, and I tell you what, they absolutely fly. And they put those machines in places where you just wouldn't think it's possible.
That's another one of the extremely unique things about this track. Big goalie.
Yeah, this is kind of a creek crossing, and you can save a lot of time, probably 20 seconds, by jumping over it. And these guys don't hesitate a bit. Just don't even let off the throttle.
Definitely want to keep your pace up. Otherwise, you might end up like this man, number 19. It's Jared Group going down over the edge.
And that's exactly what happens if you do happen to let off. You can't let that front end drop down because this is going to get ugly.
If you're a spectator, you might want to watch out. You're about to get wet. Jared fires up the Honda. He's down and away. A little excitement early in this race, but none for William Yoakley, who hits the checkpoint. Pretty sizable lead.
Yeah, William's making that machine work. You know, one of the things that's interesting about this pro class is the chassis will take a lot, actually, of rider error. Matt Smiley was telling me that you can jump one of these pro production machines and land sideways, and it'll just ride right out, whereas other machines may not be quite so forgiving. Off to the left, you can see the riders are taking a little bit slower line, not having to jump that ditch, and it's costing them some time.
Better bring it if you're going that way. Perfect example, too, of how much time that shaves off. Balance at the checkpoint. Now moved into second, ahead of Borich. Borich was holding second place earlier, but now Balance is off the machine.
Notice he's pumping his brakes, like must have had a problem with the caliper.
Well, with last year's champ in the pits, that gives Yoakley a chance to extend his lead. For second place, Borich, who's trying to make up some advantage there. Dusty conditions.
Now, a track like this, you really need your brakes, so it's a priority, especially your front brake, because your front brakes give you more stopping power than your rear brakes do.
Somewhere amidst all that dust is a battle for third. You take a look at Santo Dorisi, currently sixth. Ginger through the nice narrow path.
He's pumping the brakes. They're probably trying to get some air out of the brake line. It could be caused by a bent rotor. Could be too much heat. He's got air in the line.
Bad break for Bill Balance, and that allows practically the entire field to go racing on by. Borich, Smiley, Page, Gallagher. They've all got by Balance, but nobody's touching Yoakley yet. Dave Reef and Scott Summers back at round 4 ATV action for the GNCC series. It's the Big Buck GNCC. So far, the Big Buck rider's been this man, William Yoakley.
He's a strong guy, and he's got a lot of finesse with the throttle.
Meanwhile, Bill Balance has rejoined this race. Don't know if they were able to get that front brake problem fixed or not, but he's going to go out there and try to salvage some points.
You know, Bill's probably getting frustrated. When you're a racer, the last thing you want to be doing is standing next to your bike, waiting to get it running.
Listening to the RPMs of everybody else goes racing on past.
Absolutely.
Here's that hill again. Following Chris Borich down the opposite side.
Yeah, on a dirt bike, you have to pick one line through the woods. On a quad, you have to pick two, so you really have to pay attention to what you're doing.
Watch that back end dance around. That matter, the front end bounces around just as much as the back.
Another thing you have to be concerned with is flats. They don't really have any type of flat prevention system like a dirt bike does, so they have to place their tires really gingerly, not slide into a sharp rock.
Ryan Baker's in for his pit stop. Quick splash of gas, fires the quad away. Back out onto the race course.
One of the ways you can tell the pro production riders is that the throaty or deeper sound. Those are all four-stroke machines.
Now, 5-time national champion on a motorcycle. Have you got a chance to ride an ATV on a GNCC course?
Yes, I have, but only a utility quad. I've never ridden a racing quad, so I've never gone even close to the speeds these guys are going.
Would you like to?
I think it'd be fun. These machines are just amazing. At least what I've seen them do on them is. Whether I can do it, the whole different story.
Here's a look at your top 5. Yoakley, Borich, Smiley, Page, and Gallagher. Do have a report on the track, though. Bill Balance is pulling some pretty good lap times right now, trying to rejoin the fray. You take a look at 4th place.
You know, William Yoakley and Brad Page and Bill Balance all live pretty close together, and they ride together during the week. So I think that's helped the 3 of them really, you know, gain a lot of speed.
We've talked before, it's hard to be a leader and know what kind of pace you're setting, but then is it tough, too, to decide when you should take a chance like we just saw Yoakley do kind of over that creek?
Yeah, you know, the things that set these guys apart from everybody else is the things that they do instinctively. If you have to stop and think about what you're going to do, you get past. So you kind of learn just from experience. You know, what you get that notion and you just go for it. Another thing I think is interesting is how aggressive these guys ride around the whole track. You know, some of the guys, when they come through the pits, they really charge because that's where the spectators are, that's where the cameras are, and you can really get hyped up and go fast there, but as soon as they get back in the woods by themselves, they slow down. You know, these guys charge all the way around the track, regardless of who's standing there and who's not.
Nice ride for Johnny Gallagher on the 24 ATV. Borich ignoring the stop sign, as will the rest of the competitors. No reason for one of those. Except to get your checkpoint stop. I guess that is important. Balance back up to 6th. He is on the gas.
Yeah, this barcode scanning system is kind of like going to the grocery store. You pull up and you get your number scanned or your barcode scanned and you pull right back out.
And the reason for that?
Well, it's just to make the courses fair and to document that, yes, you were at that checkpoint on the 3rd lap or the 4th lap or whatever, but you haven't cut the course.
And they could always go back and take a look at the times and say, hey, listen, you were 2 minutes faster on that portion than anybody else, and something's obviously up there.
Absolutely.
Tell you what's up for William Yoakley. Petro is away.
You know, I was asking some of these guys what gets tired while they're out there on the track. And it seems to be their lower backs. You know, they have to kind of stay in a hunched over position to try to lower their center of gravity, which really helps them to turn. And that kind of wears on them after a while.
Checking in with our production class, that's Chad Duvall for the number 10. That's a Honda. It's out in 1st.
Yeah, you can notice that deeper sound of Chad's bike. That's a 4-stroke.
Borich, the 2nd place entry. It gives you an idea how big the gap Yoakley has on this field. How much work Borich has in front of him. You know, you talk to William Yoakley, even he's a little bit surprised by how well his season has started.
Yeah, he's got to be happy. It's a long season, but you go out there and you scrap for all the points you can.
Last year finished 4th overall in the class. This year he's leading the points every step of the way so far.
But the thing about these ATV guys is they get to throw away 2 races, so they can afford to have a mechanical problem or a DNF or maybe even an injury because they only take the best 11 out of 13 scores.
Great battle for second between Borch, Smiley, and Page. Getting back to that drop situation. Hey, if you're William Yoakley, you know what you're giving up so far? A second, a first.
And there's Greg True. He's also an up-and-coming rider in the pro production class.
Here's the freight train for second. Borch through your screen. Goes Smiley and Bad Brad Page. That's going to be interesting here pretty quick as Bill Balance has moved into 5th. He is absolutely hauling the mail. About 50 seconds quicker on that lap than even your leader. And all of this with a questionable front brake still.
That's impressive.
You've stood on the sidelines. You've had bike problems. I suppose you're a little more amped up.
Well, yeah, I think your adrenaline gets flowing. You're so mad because something happens. You want to do everything you can to try to counteract that, to try to make something good come from something bad.
Another one of the Balance clan. That's Brandon in the production class, riding in 3rd. How about this? Smiley and Page have both gotten around Borch. Borch back in 4th now.
Yeah, Borch must have made a mistake.
Word from the course is he caught a tree with that ATV. Fortunately, it doesn't look like there's much more damage than just a few positions on the track.
Yeah, talking to these guys, there's several people that are capable of going a winning pace. It's just a matter of who makes a mistake and who doesn't.
Let's hope our helmet cam rider doesn't make a mistake. That's pretty tough following those guys. Who's William Yoakley following? Listen. Nobody's the lone ATV out there.
That's right. Watch how he goes up this hill. You can hear him give it throttle about 8 different times. And what he's doing is he's getting on the gas and off the gas, not accelerating where there's not traction.
3-way battle for second. About to be a 4-way battle as Balance is on the move. Today's Grand National Cross Country ATV race is being brought to you by Suzuki, maker of innovative motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles. Visit your Suzuki dealer today and see the complete award-winning lineup. Dave Reed, Scott Summers back with you for the final time as William Yoakley's opened up about a 45-second lead now.
Yeah, William typically does really well in the open races. Like down in Florida, he seems to do really well, and he looks like he's going fast.
Speaking of fast, Bill Balance on his 3rd lap clocked a 26-minute and 56-second lap, 28 seconds faster than anybody, including Brad Page and William Yoakley. This thing were about another 2 laps, he'd have a shot, but fortunately the white flag is out.
Yeah, he's probably wishing these races were 3 hours long, not this particular day.
Borch trying to fight back on the inside of Smiley. Recall Borch hit a tree just a little bit ago, knocked him back to 4th. He's trying to crack the podium one more time.
I saw a course marker go flying just a minute ago. That kind of tells you how intense the pace is.
Let's test the pace of Brad Page with our helmet cam.
Yeah, see, he's approaching a left rider. You know, this is critical. If he happens to come up on that rider right where there's a place to pass, that's great. But a lot of times you'll come up on somebody and there's just nowhere to go, and you have to wait. And that waiting costs you a lot of time between you and the leader.
Matt Smiley looks like he's dusted off Borch for the time being. That was a pretty good battle not so long ago. But no battle up front. Yoakley once again over the creek for the final time. Down through that muddy section of the course. Balance continues to saw away back in 5th. Time winding down though. Santo Derisi, a nice ride for him in 6th.
This is one of those open fields where you can get going probably 70, 75 miles an hour. It's kind of a nice breather coming out of the woods, get a little bit of that wind chill factor that you create. faster you go, the cooler you get.
Look back at the pro production class, finds Chad Duvall in first on that Honda, but quite frankly, the ride of the race might belong to Brian Baker, who's fought his way up into second. Bill Balance, meanwhile, has got himself into fourth now.
He's slowly moving his way up. You were talking about Brian Baker. You know, these pro production guys, their bikes work better where it's slippery. And the Unlimited, the pro class, their machines work better where there's traction to be had, because they have a little bit more power.
Borch back in fifth, obviously has slowed quite a bit. Battling with Smiley, that means Balance can't be too far away. Checkered flag is right there for William Yoakley, who comes through for his third win of the season already in 4 races. He ends up 25 seconds better than Brad Page. Smiley comes home third. Balance recovers to fourth. Borich falls way off the pace at the end of fifth. As your winner, plumb happy about being atop the podium once again.
I got the whole shot, and I was feeling pretty good, and got there in the fields, and I probably got about a 10-15 second lead with the dust, but then once I got in the woods, and like I said, I've been practicing in some real tight, gnarly trails, real similar to this, and I've had my confidence build up for a couple of weeks. I've been training hard, and I just got out there and busted my butt. I knew if I just took out the whole hard that I could probably pull a lead, because nobody else was really setting their pace, and that's what happened. Luckily it came around that way.
Take a look at the points. Yoakley extends his lead over Matt Smiley to 6 as Borich is third. Bill Balance still fourth. Very much in contention thanks to the 2 drops. Brad Page rebounds from 17th to 2nd to climb into the top 10.
Once I got out in front of him, I felt like, I could pull a little time, so, it worked good. And last lap, just starting the last lap, I noticed I had a rear flat. I was pretty scared that running that last lap. Florida and North Carolina both, broke down the last lap, and it just, I was pretty scared about that. But, them ITP tires are so tough, man. I mean, you couldn't even hardly tell you was riding on a flat. They did a great job, and I just kept pushing and got in second. So I really didn't realize I was in second till I got on the podium.
Chad Duvall dominated the production classes. Brian Baker comes home second. Greg True had a crash, damaged his Honda, ended up finishing in the 13th spot. You can best believe that's going to hurt him in the points as Baker extends his lead over Coonley, Crump, Balance, and Krachin. Well, next up, we head to Loretta Lynn's, and that's a fun spot to go, isn't it, Scott?
One of my favorites.
Awful close to your home, too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not too far away, a little bit south.
Well, he'll take a car, I'll take a plane, but regardless, we'll both see you in a week's time from Hurricane Mills, Tennessee. For Scott Summers, I'm Dave Reef. We'll see you next time.